Okay, thank you so much, Sky. Um, so I'm going to start up with introducing Punjabi Community Health Services. So with me are my three colleagues who are youth workers. My name is Harpreet Dhaliwal, aka Reena, and I am a crisis support worker at Punjabi Community Health Services. So I'm quickly going to share with you what Punjabi Community Health Services does, and then we're going to turn to our presentation on OSAP, bursaries, and scholarships. So Punjabi Community Health Services, it's a nonprofit organization, a charitable organization with a vision to empower diverse communities. So Punjabi PCHS, we serve all individuals, regardless of who they are, where they're from. And I know that the name may suggest otherwise, but all our staff speak English and additional languages. So if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you need help, please get in touch with her, with us at PCHS. The areas that we cover within Punjabi Community Health Services, first off is settlement. So newcomers who have been here or who are permanent resident, who are holding a COPR or convention refugees, citizens, everyone is served under settlement. And depending on where you are in your process of settlement, we can support you. Our other big department is mental health and addictions. So if you have a family member or you yourself are seeking services in mental health and addictions, PCHS has a huge sort of component where we assist and support not just the client, but also the family, because we believe that client alone sometimes cannot change the circumstances that they're in. So if the client wishes for their family to be part of their recovery or part of their accessing help and support, so we involve the family as well. Our Better Families program, again, it is to support parents and or couples in their journey, in their life journey. Geriatrics is our seniors program. Peer support, where we have those who have been at PCHS for many years. PCHS's mental health and addictions program has been running for well over 30 years. And those who have been through this program and have been successful, peer mentor those who are coming in on their new journey. So that's where peer support program comes in. You're going to hear a little bit about Newcomer Youth Program from Rupi, Tashana, and Gina. Employment Readiness Program, that is to support newcomers. Vast majority of the newcomers are coming in with a lot of skills, a lot of information. However, they still might find themselves that they're struggling to find a job. And it often has to do with either their resume or how they're reaching out to employers and where they're reaching out to them. So our employment preparedness or readiness program is really helpful in critiquing the resume or in assisting you and connecting you with the job that you may be looking for. And volunteer student placement. So we have a lot of students who do their placements with PCHS. We also have a PCHS media affiliation. So if you're a student and with media sort of experience and you're looking for a placement or co-op, do reach out to us for support. Next. So as I said earlier, my role is to be a crisis support worker. So what is a crisis? So oftentimes people might think about a crisis when, things have gone really, really bad. And I like to share that crisis is any time that is impacting your ability to do what you normally do. And it's actually impacting you or family or friends and whoever is around you negatively. If you're in that sort of state of mind yourself, or you know someone, um, a crisis support worker like myself might be able to help them to sort of figure out what's happening. They might need information. Whether you are a young person or an older person, everyone can be in a crisis. And it doesn't have to be something that's long lasting, not something that's ongoing. It can be a crisis at one time and you just need one time intervention and it's over. That is a very good possibility. So it's a time that is stressful, time that is difficult. It can be short term. If you are experiencing anything like this or you know someone, please refer them and connect them for crisis support. So what would a crisis support worker like myself do? We will help and plan, prioritize whatever it is that you're facing. We counsel or guide you. You are the expert in your life, and we're there to guide you to sort of, work at whatever it is that the time that's in your life that you're going through. We're there to support you. And it could be a systemic or a language barrier. A lot of times, people don't know what they don't know, and sometimes crises are our own, and sometimes crisis can be due to barriers that we have around us, whether those are in the education system or in the public sector or accessing services in the community. Anything that you're facing could be a systemic or linguistic barrier. So I think now Rupi will talk about Newcomer Youth Program, and we'll take it from there.
Thanks, Harpreet. Hello, everyone. My name is Rupi. I am one of the youth workers here today from PCHS under the Newcomer Youth Program. Throughout the presentation, you'll get to meet our other wonderful youth workers as well. On this slide, I'm just going to quickly introduce what the program is about. As the title says, it is for newcomer children and youth between the ages of 8 going up to 25. And since we are funded by Immigration, Refugee, Citizenship Canada, we accept children and youth who have the immigration background as a permanent resident, conventional refugee, or Canadian citizen within the first 3 months of attaining your citizenship. And we are always accepting, children and youth to be participating in our programs. And below, you'll see some of the supports that we do offer. We offer one-on-one supportive counseling. So if you're someone who is more comfortable speaking to one of the youth workers on a one-on-one basis rather than in a group setting, that's an opportunity that you can definitely take. We also offer leadership and civic engagement opportunities throughout our programs. We also offer employment support, academic engagement. We have provided various types of information sessions in the past, such as, cyberbullying, social media safety, mental health, self-care, and lots others. And in each of our workshops, we try to incorporate a creative aspect. So we like to have our information sessions interactive and engaging and more hands-on. So we do include the component of having arts and crafts included, in which we do provide the materials and kits to go along with those type of workshops. And aside from that, we do offer parent and youth relationship building workshops as well, in which we do speak directly with the parents, providing them some insight as well as resources. And like Harpreet had mentioned, we do offer volunteer opportunities as well in our program. And coming up, we do have a few exciting programs in place that we're working on launching. And these will be our Leader in Me program, which is a leadership program for our younger children ages 8 going up to 13, which will launch next year, early January. And this will be a consistent program every week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then we're also working on launching a mentorship program, which will be for our older youth, ages 14 going up to 18, in which they'll get to participate every week with us as well, in which we'll have mentors as well as mentees, our youth participants, in just engaging them in leadership activities, conversations, and equipping you with the information and the skills that you may need. So that's it for our program. I mean, if there's ever any questions regarding our program that I might not have mentioned here, or you have a question that you really, need the answer to, you can always leave your questions in the chat throughout the presentation. And then towards the end, we can address those questions and also answer any other questions that do come up. So please don't feel shy. We're here to answer any questions that you have. And now we'll start our presentation on OSAP, and I'll pass it back on to Harpreet to get us started.
Harpreet, you're muted again.
Thank you. It's the statement of 2021 as well. You're muted. So let's start with OSAP. What is OSAP? OSAP is Ontario Student Assistance Program, and it is a program that is needs-based assistance through loans and grants to help qualified students and families with the cost of post-secondary education. Now, keep in mind that this is not just for those who are going from high school to colleges or universities. OSAP is available for any adult who might want to go back to school to study full-time as well. Ontario and Canada have integrated their student financial assistance program under OSAP. So funding comes from both federal and provincial government. And it is an entitlement program. So there is no cap set on number of students who can qualify. And OSAP is a combination of loan that is repayable plus grants, which are non-repayable, and it equals to the OSAP amount that you may have to pay back. So we're going to look more into what that looks like on the next slides. Okay, so let's first talk about it, who is eligible. So a student must be a Canadian citizen, permanent resident, or protected person, or as we might also say, a convention refugee. They have to be resident of Ontario, attending or entering OSAP approved program and school. So vast majority of the colleges and universities in Ontario and or other provinces are eligible and approved for OSAP funding. If you are going to be doing a program with a private college and you need financial support, you may want to check with them first before applying, whether they are registered or whether they are able to use OSAP funding, or you're able to apply for it and use it towards that program. You are entering in or are enrolling in a certificate, degree, or diploma program that is in length for 12 months. 12 weeks in length, sorry. Okay, Rupi, go ahead. Okay, so continuing with eligibility, so students can receive OSAP if they enroll in a public college or university program outside of Ontario. If students want to study outside of Canada or at a private institution outside of the province, they will only be eligible for partial OSAP funding through the federal government. So how is aid determined? So The way OSAP amount is determined, it might depend on your circumstances. So the cost of your education, books, tuition, living expenses is taken into consideration, and minus the financial contribution from the student, for example, NRSP, parents and or spouse's income, and or scholarships and bursaries that you may be eligible for when you apply, which equals to the financial need and OSAP. So if you would like, you can go on ontario.ca/OSAP to do a calculation, estimated calculation of how much funding might be available to you. Now it says 2019-2020 on this one, but if you were to go on the website, you will still find this OSAP calculator, which will help you and assist you with calculating an amount that you may be eligible for. So the applications for the 2020-2021 year will be available, and vast majority of the time, your school, high school, will provide you information as soon as the applications are open. Students are encouraged to apply as soon as possible to ensure that their funding begins in time and they can pay their tuition before their program begins. Full-time students have until 60 days before the end of their study period to apply. However, late applicants can cause delays and late fees for students, and students must apply for OSAP to qualify every year because, again, all the things that we talked about earlier in terms of eligibility, for example, parents' contribution, or their income, or your own contribution and income as a student is calculated in every year in your eligibility. So that may increase or decrease depending on your circumstances. Okay, so students can apply for OSAP through OCAS and OUAC. So OUAC is your University Application Center, so where you apply for the program, and OCAS is the program. Now I don't see the OCAS explanation, but I would imagine that's from your college application. Pardon me. So if you're applying to a college program, when you go on the college website to apply for it, so you will be able to apply for loan or grant through the college website. If you're applying to a university program, that will be OUAC for you to apply at the same time. And you will need to register so that you can get a direct link from OSAP. And students who are selecting the link from OCAS or OUAC are directed to special landing page where they can register for OSAP, as I mentioned earlier. Once you create your student profile with information and program information to OSAP, student does not need to re-enter this information on the OSAP site again and again. So helping students understand how much aid they may receive. So after you apply for OSAP, you're provided with an online estimate that consolidates your grants, your loan, any awards that you may receive, and that's on the application that you submit. This can help you compare how much you may receive from the institution that you apply to, so that you can plan for your studies. So the estimates for a university program, and each university has their own tuition fees for the different programs. So they will vary depending on which program you're applying to. Okay, so in order for the OSAP to be paid back, there are a couple of things you need to keep in mind. OSAP funding will be applied automatically to your tuition, and mandatory fees are paid through your post-secondary institution. So this will help with the understanding of what's your balance. The amount of OSAP assistance that will be applied against your account and how much you owe. So first, the tuition is taken into consideration, and additional fees are added to get a total of how much your OSAP amount is going to be. So, and then from that, your grant and your loan is, so for example, if you are applying to a college or a university, sometimes they give you entrance grant or a bursary. So that will be taken into consideration, and that's taken and added to your loan. So the total of your, for example, here it shows the example that your grants that you might receive might be $5,600, and the loan that you're eligible for is $5,500. So the total that you have for OSAP is $11,100, but your tuition and your fees for everything else that you may have entered is $4,600. So that is deducted from $11,100. And so your total balance that remains is $6,500. So your tuition is deducted from your loan and grants that you're receiving. And that's how you get the remaining total for OSAP. So I hope this is helpful in terms of figuring out and sort of having an idea what this amount will look like. So this is just an example.
Harpreet, I just wanted to add to the slide
Sure.
quickly. Sorry for my voice, guys. I do have a cold, so if you're not that clear, I apologize in advance. But I just wanted to say, so when you do get approved for OSAP for the grant and the loan, you can choose to just accept the grant and not the loan. So for example, in this diagram that has been displayed, your tuition fees are $4,600 and your loan, your grant amount is $5,600, and you're using money from the loan. If you wanted to just take the $5,600 of the grants and say you wanted to pay the remainder $1,000 and something on your own, that's also something that you can do, because then once you're finished school, you would technically you wouldn't be paying back anything as long as your GPA is in good standing. So I think that's a good way to look at it. Or if you only wanted to take, like, let's say $1,000 of the loan to put and use the grant to pay all of your tuition, then you would only be paying back $1,000 at the end for your OSAP payment for that semester.
Thank you, Tashana, for adding that. Okay, so repaying your OSAP loan. So as you saw on the previous slide, so depending on your program, your end amount might look different, and students are expected to pay any portion of the loan that they have left. So when you graduate or leave the full-time studies, you have about 6 months grace period to find a job before you are expected to start paying your OSAP loan. Interest will accrue on the provincial loan during the grace period, beginning September of the following year, or depending on when you finish your studies. So if you graduate, for example, in April, and you calculate your 6 months, the loan, the interest will accrue from that time. And the students can begin paying back their OSAP loan at any time. So some people will say, oh, I have 6 months before I can start paying. But remember that you are going to pay interest on that amount for waiting for 6 months. So if you get a job within a month or 2 months, or as soon as you get a job, you can actually start paying off your loan. So you're not paying extra interest on it. The interest that is charged on OSAP loans is lower than a lot of the other interests that you may have had experience with. However, there is interest added to it. The repayment assistance plan helps students who are having difficulty repaying their loan. So sometimes people may not get a job in 6 months or even a year. And you're trying, because you graduated from a university program and you want to get a job within the program that you finish. So for whatever reason that you're not getting a job, you can connect with the OSAP office and ask for us to delay your payment or to start to give you more time before you can start paying, and make arrangements with your provider. Okay. So if you have any questions in terms of any loans or connecting with the inquiries regarding OSAP, you can call this number, 1-888-449-4478. This is the ministry's number, Ontario Ministry of Education. And then students who are studying outside of Ontario can also contact the ministry representative at 1-877-OSAP 411. That's 1-877-672-7411. Okay, so now I believe Rupi is going to share information about other types of fundings or grants that may be available to students.
Yes, thank you, Harpreet. I do apologize, my video is off. I was receiving some feedback and was kind of scared to not have my internet stop working. So I'll turn my video on as the presentation goes on. Hopefully you guys can hear me well. So as Harpreet mentioned, now that you guys have learned about OSAP, there are other ways to also fund your school after high school, whether you're someone that wants to go to college or university. And these are the 4 types of financial supports that are available to you. So we have scholarships, bursaries, grants, and awards. To start off with, what are scholarships? Now, some of you might have heard of this before in school or with your guidance counselors, but just to give you a refresher, it is based on criteria that includes academic achievement, your community involvement. Maybe you're someone that has volunteered in various community events or organizations, as well as where you have demonstrated leadership skills or have a financial need. So this is pretty much made for students to help them further their education. We all know that school is very expensive, and majority of students in Canada that do graduate, they do graduate in debt. Myself, for one, when I finished, I had attended college and university. And once I had finished university, this was something, definitely the information I needed at that time to know these different types of, options that are available for me, because if we're just relying on OSAP, that's the money you have to pay back to the government, in which you end up collecting debt. That's why since, that can be challenging for some students or families to pay off, these are other avenues that you can take in order to, further your education and complete your education without the stress of any financial means. So pretty much these are made to take that burden off of you and your parents to make your education, financing your education more manageable. Second thing I would like to add is that, school is also challenging and it can also be tough, especially when you're someone who transitions from high school going into college or university. Kind of understanding that new environment, new way of learning can be challenging. So scholarships can also provide that incentive for students to keep their grades up and strive for success. And that's why by offering scholarships to students or any type of financial support for your education, it can improve your experience as a student as well as help you boost for your life after graduation without having that financial stress or debt. And the last thing I would like to address here is that, as you can see, there are different criteria for scholarships, such as academic, community involvement, leadership. But there's also a misconception that goes on, maybe we've heard this from our parents or just within the community where scholarships are available for those that are the top 1% in their classes, who are always achieving 90% or 95%. Although that is part of that criteria if you are applying for a scholarship that is under the academic achievement. However, that is not to lose hope if you're not someone who is at that grade level, because there are many different ways that you can still get involved in the community. You can still use, other skills that you have. Maybe you're someone who is really good at art or dance or anything in the creative field or technical field where you are able to apply for those different scholarships and help, fund your education. So these are the types of scholarships. So the first one talks about the merit scholarship, which is more award-based for students on the level of success where their financial status is not considered. So these awards are typically given out to students with high level of achievement in academics, athletics, the arts, or even outstanding community work you might have done. The second one is the athletic scholarship. And this obtaining an athletic scholarship, you must contact different coaches from the universities or colleges. So if you're someone that has a passion for, let's say, football, and you have been playing football in high school, maybe you've been playing football privately as a child, and now that you're finishing high school, you want to continue that passion of yours to continue playing that sport. Best way what to do is to contact different universities and colleges that have a football team already in place. And if they do, also, finding out if they're offering scholarships based on your athletic achievement, because in that case, it helps you narrow down your options as well. If you want to take the road towards your passion, where it's important for you to continue playing football. And that way you can also find out what is the criteria with that school, in your resume or portfolio, what kind of things you need to include. You might need a reference letter from your current coach and whatnot. So if you are someone who is interested in the athletic field, I would definitely, advise you to check out different schools that might offer the sport that you are playing, and kind of start planning and organizing yourself that way for the future. And the last.
Can I add
Yeah.
something just in terms of athletic scholarships? The colleges and universities also like to see your portfolio if you're in sports, and starting your portfolio early is also a great idea. So if you are in sports and so you would have to be not just in school sports, but also in like rep programs in outside in the community. So depending on your ability, if you are a very strong athlete, regardless of where you're playing, you want to make sure that you are creating a portfolio. And if you're in high school now, check with your school guidance office or with your coach at school how you can get that started, because that's a huge sort of like a resume for you when you're going into a college or a university program for your athletic scholarship, in addition to what Rupi shared.
Thank you, Harpreet, for adding that. And the third one is affiliated scholarships. So this is provided by different organizations. So it could be your local bank, different clubs, religions, even maybe the employer your parents work for. It's always a good question to inquire about those things within your community where you are living, maybe the banks which you are giving your services to. Oftentimes they do have something in place in which you can kind of read about and see if it fits in within your criteria or skills or talents that you have. So the next type of funding opportunity for continuing education is bursaries. So bursaries are awarded based primarily on financial need, although academic achievement and community involvement may be considered. So it's important to know the difference between scholarships and bursaries. So the main difference is the way they are offered. Typically, bursaries are offered to students depending on the financial situation of your parents. And bursaries also first take into account your family's income. So they are there to equalize the playing field for students from lower economic backgrounds. So I can give an example. When I was in college, when I was in university, I had went to my my program advisor, just asking for options as to what kind of bursaries or awards are available within that school, and they had told me about a bursary which was based on first generation attending university. So I was the first one within my family to attend university, and there was a bursary application for that. And the steps that I had to take to apply for that was fill out the application and then attach an essay letter explaining my story pretty much as to, how I was the first one to enroll in college or university and how did that happen? How did I make it happen? And based on the essay, I was approved for $1,000. And those $1,000 went towards my, the books, traveling to school, even, when you're staying at school for longer hours, you want to buy food, you want to make sure you're feeding yourself. So those $1,000 did really help me a lot, make my university experience a lot better. And, throughout your education, like at the school you're at, there's always options and different bursaries that you can apply for. So this type of information is available once you have enrolled into the school. And that's when they make it available for the students to apply to different bursaries. And this is the money that you get to keep. So you're not paying back them anything. So whatever you are awarded based on the application and criteria is what you get to keep. And now I'll pass it on to Gina to go over grants.
Hi everyone, my name is Gina. So grants are part of OSAP. It's what the government fund. It's part of the government funding that you would not pay back, as previously mentioned, if you maintain your GPA and complete your program. As Harpreet mentioned, the grants are what you keep and what you not, and it's not what you pay back. And as Tashona mentioned, you do have the option to opt out or decline your grant or loan, whichever one. Just a reminder, full-time students, the grants do pay for your tuition, your fees, your books, and living expenses. I believe there is a difference between part-time and full-time students. Again, there's a lot of misconception on whether you have to pay back the grants. So again, you do not pay back your grant. Yep, and then next slide.
Gina, may I add? I think the one of the things to keep in mind is for any awards, bursaries, or any funding that's offered to students, there is an expectation to finish the program successfully. So that's where I think the difference is. So student cannot go take the money and then not finish the program successfully and still expect to keep the money. So that is something to keep in mind. And sometimes I think there is a misunderstanding that if the student is in school and that they won't have to pay at all. So there may be something around there, and it's always a good idea to sort of check.
Right, thank you, Harpreet. So moving on, awards. Awards are handed out by faculty members that nominate students for these specific awards. These awards are inclusive to all students enrolled into the institution. I would suggest going online and seeing what awards are available and what award you are eligible to apply for. It's always nice to stay up to date, and just because they do not tell you about these, it's kind of on you to go check out what's available and what you may be eligible for. And we do give an example on how you could apply for that. So for this example, we're going to use Sheridan College. So what you would do is you would log in into your Sheridan account, your student account. Under the finance tab, there's a tab for online award applications. From here, you would then complete the application that you are eligible for. And as soon as you apply, as soon as you create your application, it would automatically identify any bursary scholarship opportunities that you might be eligible for. And there's always a list of bursary opportunities that is located under the opportunities link. Each institution may be different on the layout and page, but just explore a little bit and I'm sure you'll find it. And then after that, then depending on the requirements, applications often ask for a letter of reference. That could be from faculty and or community members or individuals who are familiar with your accomplishments. Again, it's really important to do your own research and to reach out. I would suggest getting in contact with your academic advisor and counselor. They do know a lot more, and they would obviously be a much more help for you guys. Keeping that connection with them would be very, very beneficial. Again, staying up to date on what awards and scholarships and bursaries are available that you think you may be eligible for. And even if you don't think you're eligible, you might actually be. So maybe take that chance and speak to your professors, your academic counselors, and see where you fit in. And yeah.
And just one thing I would like to add is that these type of applications, the school sometimes does not give you a lot of time to gather your information, to gather the letters and whatnot. So, you know, once you know that you do want to apply for a scholarship or bursaries awards that are offered within your school, I would say give yourself a lot of time, because with college or university workload, you will be swamped with a lot of assignments, readings that you have to do. So you have to give yourself enough time so that you are making sure that you are, you know, providing all the supportive documents that, you know, if you're writing a letter for yourself, like in an essay form, you know, make sure you have all of your highlighted achievements, you know, achievements that you've done or volunteer work that you've done in the past in that letter. And if you do need references from maybe your teachers, employers where you might have worked, it's always good to give them a heads up as well, because someone who needs to provide you a reference letter also needs that time to, you know, create that letter in a timely manner so that everything can get submitted on time. Because once you are past that deadline, you don't want to pass that deadline pretty much, right? You want to make sure that you have submitted everything on time, and that you are following all the right steps in order for you to achieve the bursaries or awards that you're applying for.
Yeah, thank you, Rupi. And also, and with that, the universities don't really tell you those deadlines, like hey, you know, the deadline's coming up, submit this, submit that. It's kind of on you to keep up and follow up with that. So again, time management, very, very important when it comes to these applications. There's a lot of students, many students applying for it. So always secure your spot the best you can. And again, time management. again, where you can find these opportunities, again, using Sheridan College as an example for domestic students, international students, it all be on the website, on the homepage. Again, you have to do your research. It's the same for all students, part-time, full-time, no matter your background or whatnot. I'm sure there's some accommodations for certain students. Again, it's all online. I do suggest connecting with academic counselors and advisors. I know they would be in the beginning of the year, they are quite busy and their schedules and appointments do get booked up. So try your best to make appointments as soon as you can and get that going as soon as you can, and then going forward with that.
And just to make another note, we will be providing external links in which when you click, you'll be able to see the example for domestic students and international students as to what the page looks like and some of the examples of awards and bursaries that are offered by Sheridan College. The only reason we have been using Sheridan College as an example, it's because we had a placement student in the past who was from that college. And since she was a student of Sheridan College, she had access to that information. So the last time when we had updated this presentation, she was very helpful in getting those external links to kind of give students a better idea as to the examples of bursaries and awards that are offered in schools. And for the most part, they are similar with other colleges and universities. There might be, some differences in that case. However, it's just to give you an overall picture as to what you can potentially prepare yourself for to apply for those bursaries, awards, or scholarships. And again, using Sheridan as an example, these are the steps that Sheridan takes when you do apply or when you are being granted an award. So what happens is that you will fill out the application, as Gina mentioned, and the processing time for Sheridan is about 4 to 6 weeks after the application deadline. And though the length of time may vary depending on the volume of applications they're receiving. So if they're receiving a lot of applications at once, you might hear back after 6 weeks, but if there's not many students applying for that, then chances are you might even receive an answer before the 6 weeks are up. The step 2 is the set amount of money available to be awarded. So all eligible applicants are screened against the criteria and the most qualified applicant is selected. And this is normally communicated to you via email. And the last step is once you are approved and you have been selected for the award, they will send you a check to your home address. So unlike OSAP, once again, you do not have to pay back any money that you receive through an award, such as a bursary or scholarship. And as mentioned, these are all external links to different resources that you can take a look at your own time and kind of explore through the links and see what kind of opportunities are out there for you. Today, we kind of gave you an overview picture and information as to, OSAP and the different types of scholarships and bursaries that you can be eligible for. However, these certain links, when you do go on them, you'll get a more detailed picture in terms of, the criteria, the eligibility, the process, as well as the type of documents you need to submit with your application. So these are external links that I will paste them into the chat. And I think I will also email it to you guys so that you can forward them via email or however way you communicate with your clients. But yeah, this is just to show you guys that there's a lot of different information available out there for you to explore on your own. And if you do ever have any questions, the team here, the youth workers and Harpreet from Settlement as well is happy to answer those questions for you and also assist you, guide you throughout your journey. So if you're someone that needs assistance applying for OSAP or you need help in, filling out a scholarship application, we're all here to support you. And, as youth workers, this is something we have done in the past with our youth. In which we have provided reference letters to our youth who have participated in our programs. we have helped them, with their application process and whatnot. So I know it can seem very overwhelming with all the information given to you today. And then it can also be overwhelming when you're going through the process of applying. So we're just here to kind of help you ease that anxiety and help you get everything in order if you need. And I think this is the towards of our end of our presentation. This is our contacts. You can see Tashana's email, myself, Rupi, Gina, and Harpreet. And we also have our social media accounts at PCHS for You Youth. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and Facebook as well. And then below, you'll see our contact information as well.
Rupi, I just want to add also for those who are with us. So I just quickly glanced over like a couple of universities and college websites. And so you may not necessarily find like awards or financial aid or bursaries right on the homepage. Sometimes you have to click on financial aid and find those programs, or you might have to follow other steps to find the information. So it's not as readily and so clearly sort of on the website. So if you don't see it, don't stress it. It's just you have to navigate the website a little bit, and always meet with your guidance counselor. They can always guide you where to find this, or just, one night if you're sitting, click on the links and just explore the websites. That's the best way to familiarize yourself. And we can take questions now.
Yes, thank you, Harpreet and Rupi, for all this wonderful information for those who are in attendance and those who are watching us live on Facebook. If you have any questions, if you're in the Zoom meeting, feel free to unmute yourself or type your question in the chat. Or if you're on Facebook, if you type in a question while we're live, I can make sure that our presenters are able to hear your question.
I think what we can also do is if we can put our emails in the chat. So please take our email down or even phone number. And if you don't have any questions or you're not sure what to ask right now, feel free to connect with us as well, because sometimes, it's, again, as Rupi said, it's a lot of information. It can be overwhelming, and you may not necessarily sort of know what to ask at the moment. So if you think of a question that comes to your mind later on, please feel free to email us and talk to us. We can always guide you or send you information. I have been putting links in the chat as well for OSAP website itself. And if you were to go on the OSAP website, you'll see there are other additional small fundings available, or as Rupi mentioned, there are other grants or bursaries that are available that we didn't necessarily cover in this presentation. So for example, if you are the first one going from your family to college or university, the link for that information is there. If you are a person from Indigenous community, there's a link there. We also didn't talk about apprenticeship programs that a lot of adults can also go into. And there are grants available for men and women. So if a woman is going into like a trades program, there is almost a 50% more grant for women when they enter an apprenticeship or a trades program than there is for men, because there are a lot of women who can, be electricians or plumbers or, auto technicians. So there are grants available for those programs as well. Or if you're a youth who came into high school in your later years and you are going into a program like that, into a trade program, there are apprenticeship programs that give you grants too that we didn't necessarily talk about. So please check out any of those, or if you are not sure, just I often say to folks that if you think that they may not have the answer, but send it to us anyways. Because if we don't have the answer, we will be able to find out the answer for you and guide you and connect you to the right person, people, or place. So that's what I always say to any folks who have questions or concerns. Just send your questions our way, and we will support you in whatever way we can. So just wanted to share that with the folks.
Awesome. We do have a question that came in through Facebook. Susie would like to know, can you get OSAP even though you have an RESP?
That is a great question. So RESP is a Registered Education Savings Plan. So when I would imagine that when you are applying for OSAP, you would be asked to, so for example, there was a slide, I don't know if we can go back to it, where they calculate in terms of what does the student have to contribute, and that would be the student's RESP. Now, depending on when your RESP contributions began, and how much RESP you have, that will be taken into consideration. So if, for example, you're applying to a university program that is going to cost you $60,000 and your RESP contribution is only, let's say, $20,000, so there is a difference of almost $40,000. So your RESP it will be taken into consideration. Now, I'm not 100% sure if it will be taken into consideration for the first year only or for the whole entire time. But yes, when you do have any money that is available to you, whether that's your parent supporting you, whether it's a RESP contribution, it will be taken into consideration. And then the amount that you may be eligible for would be given to you. So RESP amounts vary depending on when the contributions started, right? So if you have an RESP that will cover all your fees, you may not be eligible for an OSAP. But like I said, if your RESP contribution started by your parents when you were, almost 14, that amount may be small. And your cost of your program may be much bigger. So I'd say that the other piece, what you can do is we can also put in the link, the question, the phone number from the presentation, maybe to Shana or Gina, if you can please put the phone number for OSAP office that's on the OSAP slide. And you can also call and find out to be sure as to what is the amount that would be given to you for OSAP. So I hope that answers the question.
Great, thank you for that information. Is there any other questions that anyone would like to ask before we wrap up for the evening? It seems like everyone is absorbing all of the information that they learned this evening. Brampton Library just wants to thank you, our friends at PCHS, for joining us this evening to talk about this topic of OSAPs, bursaries, and scholarships. It was very informational Your slides were very interactive and it was a great presentation. So thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having us, Sky. And I'm just going to add also, again, the OSAP. If you just Google OSAP as well, you will get to the website itself. And if you go to chat, please take down phone numbers. And also, I've been putting OSAP information. There is a link about OSAP in the chat as well. Please refer to those and reach out if you have any questions. And thank you again for having us, Sky.
Awesome. And don't forget, next month, we are continuing our Adulting 101 program series with a session on how to know your tenant rights. So that will be happening on December 14th from 5 to 6 p.m. So if you're interested, make sure you go to the library's calendar of events on our website and register. And we hope to see you all there for those of you who have joined us tonight.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.